Welcome to yet another captivating episode of NTV Seeds of Gold. Tomatoes, not necessarily a favorite horticultural crop, but they are one reliable crop, grown all year round, especially with the use of irrigation during the dry seasons. These vibrant red gems thrive in the full sun and well-drained soil, making them an ideal choice for farmers. Today, we embark on a journey into the world of tomato farming. So join us.
Fellow farmers, I just want to tell you how sweet tomato growing is. Because remember, whenever you start up a project, all your eyes are pointing at yielding money. With tomatoes here, at least we can't fail to have some money per day. Like people come from the market, come around, pick. Moreover, for us, we are not putting in transport, but someone is coming him or herself at the garden, and if it is going at a box is around 300,000 to 350,000.
So previously, we met Tony and his fellow farmers who struck gold in the realm of cabbage cultivation. Their success led them to identify a gap in the cultivation of hot climate crops in Kamuli. Now we are back on Tony's farm, where he will share his experience and insights into the fascinating world of tomatoes. Tomato farming is often regarded as a challenging endeavor, but Tony and his fellow youth have defied the odds and embraced tomato farming. Today, we'll delve into their world and inspiring stories of how they ventured into this seemingly difficult domain and the reasons behind their determination.
We here as a youth, with my colleagues, we realized that through farming, we can at least earn a living. So, I would tell you that we are basically in horticulture. We are basically in tomatoes, as you've seen, then and cabbages. So by this time around here, and there is what we call crop rotation in farming. So for us, what we do, we keep up changing. So this season, since we are having tomatoes, we shall end up that next season we might have cabbages. You know, in Uganda here, everybody per day may end up eating like twice or thrice a day. And you want it or not, you need vegetables if you have food. So for us, we zeroed on tomatoes, having realized that people seriously here in Uganda use tomatoes as vegetables. One of the best thing on them, they take like almost like 3 months. You start earning. The type of tomatoes here we planted is Aso. Aso is one of the hybrids in tomatoes. I would advise a farmer outside there to plant. You need to first prepare a nursery bed. This nursery bed, you start preparing it after getting the seeds. You need to have the seeds aside. Then after getting these seeds, then you start preparing the nursery bed. As the nursery bed is growing, we start then again preparing the main garden. Most of the farmers, they don't always have a plan. And they think that we farmers, you just wake up one day and you start farming. But it's always better to have a plan before you do something. We sit down, then make a plan. That now, like this season, we are going for tomatoes. How many tins of tomato seeds that will be required? For example, now here we have over 10 acres of tomatoes. So we would first identify how many seeds will go into 1 acre. So then after that, we look around where will labor come from. Then after realizing where labor will come from, however much we at least now have experience, but we also seek some experience from other farmers. You go to someone whose garden, you try to inquire so that we can come out with another knowledge at our farm here.
Pests and diseases pose significant challenges to farmers, but Tony and his colleagues have found effective ways to cope. Join us as they reveal their strategies for pest and disease management and gain valuable insight into the agronomic practices they employ, from fertilizers to weed control, pruning, mulching techniques, so much more.
Our seeds have start germinating in a nursery bed. They take like 2 weeks. 2 to 1 week they start coming up. Actually, after sowing them in a nursery bed, we cover up with some dry grass. We mulch them. Why do we cover? Sometimes we don't need that direct sunshine to come and hit our seeds down. So when they start coming up, what we do, we raise up a shelter, at least to allow sunshine to go through. Remember, when a plant is growing, it needs sunshine. But also we put on a shade in that it doesn't receive that direct sunshine. So after that, we may end up, maybe in case when some pesticides are coming around eating the leaves, then we can get some pesticides to suppress those pests. So after transplanting, it may take maybe like a week. Then you need to apply some pesticides, maybe even some fertilizers to boost them, to have that vigor while growing. When these tomatoes start bringing branches, I would advise the farm outside there to mulch them. Why do we mulch them? Remember, when they start flowering and bringing the real fruit, like as you can see here, you need to mulch down. Because if this pod is just down on the floor, it may end up rotting. If you get some coldness, almost for like 4 hours a day, according to the climate change, you want it or not, you need to spray that day. If you don't spray, you may end up losing some pods. Sometimes climate changes also affect these tomatoes. So the immediate, when you just identify it immediately, there are those pesticides that are supposed to be applied during that climate change, when it is so cold and no sunshine at all. When I talk about the fertilizers, we have what we call a synergizer. Synergizer is also a very good fertilizer when it comes on the side of tomatoes. And synergizer is also it is always best to apply it also when these pods are there. That's the way how it boosts the plant or the fruit, or I can call it a pod, and when it is almost reaching at the period of yielding. About weeding, these tomatoes, they don't need too much weeds. You know, these weeds, when you leave them into your garden, there would be a lot of competition with the small nutrient you have into your soil. So it is always good and better to weed these tomatoes when these grass are still at a low height, in that you allow the tomatoes to use all the nutrients into the soil appropriately. And remember, if weeds are around, they also harbor some pests. So if you remove these weeds, you end up that you are even avoiding some pests which may come out and disturb these tomatoes. Maybe I would say that when it's at almost 1 inch, you need to remove them immediately when it is 1 inch, because the more it grows, the more it is using the fertility or the nutrients into the soil. So it is better you remove when they are still young. When you mulch your garden very well, you may end up that some weeds are unable to come out because of mulching. So this mulching, it helps on both sides, while protecting our pod not to rot when it's on the floor, but also on the other side of weeds, it prevents weeds to come out. Actually, these tomatoes, when talk about management, after mulching, when they start bringing branches, there is the way how those branches, remember, they bend well going down. They don't go up. That's why we advise to mulch them, in that whenever it branches and whenever it moves around, it's on these mulches we have put down. So, and there are those other types of tomatoes that grow while going up. But this also, it gives branches while going down. We have a breed called Aso. Aso, one tin we are buying it at 850,000, one tin. And here in 10 acres, we used 4 tins of Aso. Each tin of Aso seeds, we expect it to have like 7,000 plants of tomatoes.
Of course, no job is without its obstacles. Tony and his friends will candidly share some of the challenges they've encountered while pursuing their tomato farming enterprise.
Actually, one of the challenges I may talk about that you may face as a farmer who is planting tomatoes is that one, tomatoes need some capital. They require a lot of pesticides. You need at least to be buying these pesticides almost every week. You need to shop. You need to have fungicides. You need to have pesticides. You need to have some fertilizers. In that where you are seeing that it's not yielding well, or there is some bit of yellowish, you need to apply some fertilizers at least to boost these tomatoes. Then you may find that now if the weather changes, you want it or not, the following day you need to spray. There are some things that just come on abruptly. So you need to have some money around to go and buy. So we end up facing that challenge. These tomatoes need a lot of care and a lot of pesticides and other fungicides. Sometimes in Busoga here we face a challenge of dry spell. But the advantage we have here that we have flowing water. That flowing water, remember here that even though it is dry season, the water keeps flowing. So what we did, we dug a well where we reserve this water from. In that when it comes to dry spell, we have a machine, we go somewhere, rent to our fellow farmer, then we start irrigating these tomatoes. Then we have even a tanker for reserving at least some water. In case in our well, water is not enough, we can easily go connect to our tank, then and try to irrigate around. And later on we go through this dry spell.
And here is an intriguing question. Why have they chosen a rented land dotted with trees? Prepare to be amazed by the unconventional thinking behind this decision, which has played a vital role in their success.
With these tomatoes, we began with a small portion. Then as we began with a smaller portion, remember we have our book for records. And it's always good to have record keeping. So we always sit down, or for the first time we sat down and we began with 1 acre. So we saw what we invested in and what we removed out of the garden. So there is the way how we compare our things, and we saw that there is some good profit. That's why we had to zero on horticulture. So we began with renting. And after realizing that there is some profits here, we approached the Mzee, the owner of the land. Then we convinced him and added us another portion of land. So now here, we reached at a period of time. We talked to Mzee, we convinced him, and he's our friend. Then he had to give us the whole portion. Now we are renting all these acres of land here. And there are some youth who have just land which is idle. So if you have a idle land, please use it. We are renting here, but at least we are trying our best to see that at least we are earning a living. And moreover, we are almost on town.
The proximity of their farm to the market has been a boon for these young farmers. They have a reliable market for their produce, and in times of surplus, they venture to larger markets like Busia and Nakasero. After all, with the demand for food never ending, they can't go wrong with their choice of produce.
Now when we talk about harvesting, now like these tomatoes are not yet 3 months. But so far we have started harvesting. So when it is towards 3 months, the yields just increases. The more it adds on, the yields increases. So at around maybe 2.5 months, you start at least harvesting like maybe 1 basin. Then it's from 1 basin you go to 2 basins like that until you reach at a bigger box. It may take like around 4 months when you're harvesting. And sometimes why to take all those 4 months, it depends also on the care and maintenance you have put on these tomatoes. If you leave weeds inside them, don't expect to harvest them even more than 2 months. I just want to tell you how sweet tomato growing is. Because remember, whenever you start up a project, all your eyes are pointing at yielding money. So these tomatoes are I just want to tell you that from the day we started harvesting at around 2.5 months, at least we started getting some money. Remember here, we have our market in Kamuli. People are much aware that at least here, we always grow tomatoes and cabbages. And the moment they just know that this time around there is tomatoes, they would always even bypass around to see whether the tomatoes we have started yielding. So they would start coming, please, if there is a basin I want to buy. So with tomatoes here, at least we can't fail to have some money per day. Like people come from the market, come around, pick. Moreover, for us, we are not putting in transport, but someone is coming, him or herself at the garden. Then you harvest like a basin, or a basin which is around 25,000. And if it is going at a box is around 300,000 to 350,000. But remember, we're almost having like 10 acres. These people cannot consume all these 10 acres. So if the yielding is too much, we connect to these people of Central Market in Jinja, in that we can even go to Nakasero Market. So these people cannot consume all these tomatoes and finish them. So we connect to Central Market Jinja or Nakasero in Kampala.
The best type of tomato, good enough, these guys are venturing into Aso, which is a very good tomato. In fact, today we are venturing into tomatoes that has a long life, shelf life, and Aso is one of them.
What would you say is the perfect, climate, perfect soil? You look at, someone is looking to venture into it. So
Yes.
where is it perfect to grow these tomatoes?
Generally, tomatoes need well aerated soil and fertile soil. So loam soil is good. Loam clay soil is good. Sandy soil is bad because of poor drainage. They need a lot of water. As you see, you viewers, you know, when you're enjoying a tomato, you need that fresh part of it, that watery bit of it. Automatically, it means it must have got water from the soil to sustain itself. So it needs a lot of water. So it needs a type of soil that can hold water, the retention of water. It's good. So that's the loam soil. That is the clay loam soil. And so that's what we call ruganko for those people out, my judges there, how they call it. So that kind of soil. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Now, whenever you tell someone, let's venture into tomato growing, their biggest fear are the pests that come with tomatoes. What are some of the best ways one can mitigate this issue?
That is the challenging part of this business. The pests and the diseases. What people know there commonly is blight. The late blight and the early blight. What is late blight? Late blight is that blight that comes after the plant has put on the fruits, what we call entontogolo, those bulbs, the fruits, the tomato fruits. That's late blight. Then early blight is this type of disease that comes and burns the leaves. That is early blight. So how to mitigate, how to go about this is just a mere mixing of proper, by the way, not mere, proper mixing of a fungicide and a pesticide. When we are planting, in fact now this one takes us back to proper identification of diseases and pests. Then 2, proper crop rotation. Then 3, proper seasoning. All those comes hand in hand. So when you are planting, you are going into, I train agriculture as a business. So viewers out there, if you are to go into tomatoes as a business, make sure that where you are going to plant tomatoes, it was not the same garden where you planted the other previous season. Why? Because if you plant it there, that means there is carryover of pests and diseases to this new generation you are putting up. Then another thing, if you are to mitigate this, know the population. Now, if you need to know what is an acre, what is a half acre, because when we are planting tomatoes, their spacings, their distances when you are planting one to another one, I mean the spacing, what I mean. If you plant close to each other, you are creating what we call damping off, I mean dampness, which will create, I mean, environment for pests to come, hide and start attacking. You get it? That's a key issue. Now, just a tip. We know very well in an acre we need to put in 5,000 plants. That's if you plant 75 centimeters by 60 centimeters. Then proper identification of a pest and at what stage and what type of fungicide or pesticide I'm using. Then two, you need to know where do you buy your pesticides. Where do you buy your fungicides? We have so many manufacturers on the market, fake manufacturers I can say. In front here, there is a retail shop. They are selling. After selling genuine products, they get back at the empty cans. Then behind the doors, they are manufacturing others to put back to the shelves. As we talk now, I have also, as my friends there, I have 2 acres of tomato. And the best time to farm tomato is during the drought season, when others are seated waiting for the rain to come. That's the technique out there. For you, venture into irrigation so that you can maintain your tomato, but the return is
good. Now, speaking of returns, I like to think the markets are really good for the tomato.
That's I thought, and I suspected you are going to ask about the market. That's now the point. Yeah. The market, if you plant aso, if you plant fortune maker, if you plant those hybrids, you are sure of getting between 80 to 100 boxes. Okay, people there, they know them as plies. Those are big boxes, wooden boxes, they put a heap on top.
He's the expert and he can get you trained. Just ask us the questions in the comment section and we'll get right back to you.
I would advise my youth viewing Tony that always have vision. And farming, when you're farming, you never regret. I am a kind of a person who prefers calling me a farmer. I lecture somewhere in a certain institution, but I always tell those students that please call me a farmer. Don't call me that blah blah and Otona and whatever. I don't want those titles. I like calling myself a farmer.
But wait, there is more. These innovative youth have not stopped at tomatoes alone. They've stepped out of the box and ventured into maize growing as well. So for more on that, join us next week as we continue to be inspired by Tony and Abu Baker's journey, witnessing their triumphs in the world of maize cultivation. Do not miss it. So that's our show for today. Don't forget to keep the comments coming in, keep the conversation flowing, #NTV Seeds of Gold. See you next week.